Welcome back to Sundown Rising. I'm Thomas A. Bradley. We've been through this. I'm a horror author. Um, and we've been doing this for 8 episodes, and this is the ninth and final episode. So we'll wrap up this novella. I'm not going to uh, recap, as I always say. The videos will be available if you're interested to go back and look at them. So with that in mind, I'm just going to jump into it and see if we can finish this story up. Nightling was waiting for me when I arose. She had been pacing the outside of the perimeter. Inside it, my wolves growled and snarled, following her every movement, forbidding her entry. In daylight, her human side made her vulnerable to their attack, and so she paced one side while they mimicked her on the other. My will enforced their remaining on the inside and not bursting through to her. Her human excitement was evident when I landed in front of her. Are you ready? Have you thought about it? Do you have any idea what we can do? Slow down, I said, holding up my hands. Yes, I've considered the situation. I'm still not sure what we can do, but I feel there is something, an ancient knowledge that will help us. What? What ancient knowledge? Do you have it? Come on, we must hurry. We may meet all night again, and I don't want to waste the time. I must feed first, I admonished. No, no, there's no time. I must. I will need all my strength if we're going to succeed. Then make it quick and meet me there. She needs you. As I finished feeding, an idea occurred to me. Hit me would be a better way to put it. It was a very old technique, probably used by the first and strongest of us. It was initially meant to create invincible guardians, but it had fallen out of use centuries ago. I now believed that I could actually bring Ronnie across the barrier. I could not return her to human life, but I might be able to bring her into our world. It was a risky procedure, both to Ronnie and me. There was a chance that she could be trapped forever inside a living hell if it went wrong. If it failed, there was a very good chance that Ronnie would slowly decompose eternally, each night rejuvenating just enough to go through the agony again and again. For my part, if it failed, my vampire body would not be able to process the life sustaining blood I drew from my victims. I too would decompose slowly until there was nothing left but ashes, dust to dust. A fleeting torrent of mortal emotion swept over me as I entered the underground vault and beheld my former wife. She stumbled around her concrete prison, hand over hand against the wall, bellowing and crying in agony. Her flesh was black gray and dripped from her bones like melting plastic. In places, her bones were completely visible, as were the organs that were disintegrating behind them. Ronnie, I said calmly, Ronnie. It's no good. She won't listen, said Nightling. Just do what you have to. Help her. Stop this. Slowly, one word at a time, my voice reverberating off the stone walls and seeming to come from every direction at once, I commanded her, Ronnie, you will turn and face me now. Instantly, she stopped. I locked my mind onto what was left of hers, searching it, probing it for any shred of reason and humanity that might be left. In the smallest, darkest corner, I found it. I surrounded it with my mind, with my will, and drew her to me. I laid her on her back and knelt beside her, my hand on her forehead. You will close your eyes and sleep, I commanded. Her eyes rolled back in her head and then closed. The erratic breathing slowed and steadied. You will sleep. You will sleep deeply and feel nothing until I awaken you. When I call you from your slumbers, you will be hungry. You will eat what I give you, and then you will sleep again. I lifted my hand from her forehead. Nightling stood off to one side watching. I could feel the anxiety that washed over her mortal side. I could read the curiosity in her mind, sense her desire to know what I was going to do. But she said nothing and watched. I steeled myself for what came next. Summoning all my strength, I placed my fingers on my abdomen and pushed. First the tips, and then the knuckles sank in. I spread my fingers, opening a hole in my left side. When it was large enough, I took the edges of it with both hands and pulled it open. I reached in and pulled out part of my spleen, my blood forming and processing organ. In humans, the liver filters the blood. In vampires, the spleen processes the blood of humans into the life sustaining liquid we need. Most of the blood that I'd acquired from my victims was still inside it. Black ooze dripped from my wound where the organ had once been attached. Awaken, awaken and feed, I commanded. Ronnie's eyes fluttered open. A howl issued from her lips that filled the chamber as she pulled the organ from my hands and started eating. Nightling and I watched as she devoured the rancid tissue and blood that it contained. I fell backward onto my elbows. The spleen's removal weakened me instantly. I looked at Nightling. You must, I stammered, you must put her back into a trance with your will when she is finished. I am too weak. You must use all your immortal powers. Can you do that? Yes, I think so. Don't think, I barked. You must know. You must be certain, or it will fail. Yes, I can do that, she said resolutely, and I could feel the immortal in her taking over. When I came to, Nightling was sitting beside me with her legs crossed like an oriental meditator. She had a hand on my shoulder and was holding her mother's hand with the other. It took me a few moments to come back to myself and be able to sit up. How long before we know? She asked. I tried to clear my mind. Hours, probably. I have never done this before. I struggled to my feet. My wound was completely closed, but I was weak. Nightling helped me stand. I helped heal you, she said. It looked like it was taking too long. I will have to feed soon. The healing drained me. While I was out, something else came to me, something even older and more primitive than the idea I used. What? Can it still be done, even though we've already done this? A fresh wave of excitement washed across Nightling's face. I think so, yes. The idea itself is sound, although dangerous. Nightling smiled and let out a short burst of laughter. I got the feeling it was just an attempt to ease the tension of the situation. Is anything you think of not dangerous? She asked. Probably not, I said. Ronnie started to moan. It was barely audible. It's not working. It's not working, cried Nightling. You must be patient. We don't know yet whether it is or it isn't. It may be too soon to tell. But look at her. She's starting to awaken and she's still in pain and decomposing. I know, Nightling, but all we can do is wait. But for how long? How long before we try something else? She had no sooner finished her sentence when Ronnie bolted upright and began crawling around the floor and screaming. It's not working. It's not. You may be right, I said. We may have to try the second idea. Are you up to it? She questioned. You look so weak. Can you do it? I closed my eyes and tried to summon all my strength. I could feel my weakness. I needed fresh blood. What I'd had, I'd given to Ronnie. No, you will have to help me, I said. This is what needs to be done, and you must act quickly. I related in detail what I wanted her to do and what we were going to try. I read the shock on her face as I spoke. There's no other option, I told her. It's either this or we'll have to try to kill her, if we can. I don't like it, snorted Nortling, but I'll try it. But if it fails, what then? I don't think killing her, even if we decide to do that, will be easy. No, it won't. But we'll have to worry about that later. Now go, bring me what I need, and be swift. I used almost all of the energy I'd had left to create an opening into the vault and to keep Ronnie inside while I did. What Nightling was bringing back could not have entered the way we do. I also had to extend my mind and will in order to make one of Nightling's tasks easier and safer. By the time she returned, I was completely drained, but I had anticipated this, and the human she brought would restore me, and I hoped that the animal she brought would save Ronnie. The human Nightling brought was a 16-year-old male. His will to fight had been completely broken, and when Nightling released him, he scurried into a corner and tried to hide. I was swift. I drained him, but not entirely. The whole time, Nightling and the male wolf she'd brought back from my crypt watched. When I'd finished and was feeling stronger, I commanded the wolf to drink from my blood and then to attack the boy, but not kill him. Getting the wolf to attack was easy. It was getting him to stop at the appropriate moment that required my strength of will. When it was over, we had to wait for the boy to recover enough to do our bidding. Nightling and I waited. The attempt was a double transfer. I passed some of my immortality to the wolf, which in turn I hoped would pass some to the boy during the attack. What we were trying to create hasn't existed in this world for longer than my ancient memories could recall, although the legends persisted. When the boy finally awoke, I drew him to me. His face was pale and his eyes dull and listless. I wasted no time. I shoved my hand into his abdomen and pulled out his liver. As Nightling held her down, I force-fed it to Ronnie. I did the same with the boy's heart. When we'd finished, I let Ronnie rest for a bit. The next phase of what we were trying would be brutal, but necessary. When she managed to pull herself to her feet, the time had come. Again, I had the wolf attack, but this time it was Ronnie. Her cries assaulted our ears and senses, and the wolf ripped chunks of the already dangling flesh from her bones. She tried to crawl away from it, but it would not release her. I watched, carefully monitoring the damage being done. When I was satisfied that we'd reached the point we needed, I called the wolf off. Now we wait again, but not here. We must seal up the vault. We will return in 2 nights. Then we will know. When we entered the vault, Ronnie was standing in the center. Once again, she looked as beautiful as she had so long ago in my distant memory. "Richard, is that really you?" she asked. She ran over and hugged me. "Where am I? Why am I a prisoner here? I can't remember much of anything." I could see the confusion on her face. I could feel the struggle inside her to recall the past, and I could sense her inability to do so. "It's all right now, Ronnie," I said, "but things will be different, much different than you recall." Nightling ran over and hugged her. The surprise and confusion on Ronnie's face was evident. She took a step back, pushing Nightling away. "Who are you? I don't know you." "You're my mother," said Nightling flatly. "I know you don't remember me, but I'm your daughter." Ronnie stood there looking at us. I could see her trying to process everything. "Come on," I said. "Let's get out of here." "Are we going home, Richard? I want to go home." "Yes, we're going home. And when we get there, I'll explain everything." "You're not going to believe me." I looked at Nightling. "Us, not at first. And there are things about your life that will be difficult for you to accept." It had taken Ronnie over 2 months to adjust to and accept her new life. I was sitting in the kitchen with Nightling. Adam and Marco were when she came in. Adam jumped up and wrapped a robe around her. Marco had a fresh set of clothes laid out on the bed for her. On nights like this, it had been her routine to come in, rest, then shower and redress. "How many?" asked Nightling. "Only 2. I tried to be careful, but when the change comes, I can't be sure." I reached out and put a hand on her shoulder. Her eyes were still aglow, and there were still remnant tufts of hair sticking out of her skin here and there. Her nose was not quite reformed, still looking half wolfish. "It's okay, Ronnie," I said. "You know that we'll take care of you." "Can you remember where you made your kills?" asked Marco. "Adam and I will go take care of the bodies." "Yes," added Adam. "This lunar cycle is over." "It's getting close to dawn," I said. "Nightling and I must rest. Will you be all right?" "Yes," she said, nodding. "Once my transformation from wolf to human is complete, I'll take a shower and lay down. I won't be hunting anymore." "I can still stay up for a while if you want," said Nightling. "No, honey, it's okay. I'll be fine." "Come, Nightling. Dawn approaches." And that concludes Sundown Rising. As I said when I started, if you've missed any of the episodes, that came about as I wrote a short story called Weeping Willow, which I sold and then sold as a reprint too. And later on, several months, maybe even a year or so, I had an idea for the sequel, which was the Progeny. And once I put them together, I ended up with this novella. So, if you're interested, if you like some of it, if you liked all of it, that's great. Please check out my um, uh, website and my all my books at the links below, and hit the subscribe button and the thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. That's fair. Everybody has different tastes. The last thing I'll say is have a very, very happy, spooky Halloween, and enjoy yourselves, and keep a chill in your spine, and keep reading. Have a good Halloween.